This video is a film study focus on Ravens rookie guard Emery Jones Jr. out of LSU, a third-round pick, and some of the observations that I can make based on his 16 snaps that he played in the Thanksgiving Day loss to the Bengals. Ravens fans should be excited like I am. In my opinion, he's a guy who quite obviously looks far better trained than some of our other guys that are starting and playing every week in terms of hand placement, elbows being tight, which is related to and can lead to good posture and helping you maintain, core strength. Relative weaknesses, some that were mentioned in the pre-draft process, some that I just noticed, myself from this game, lower body strength and the ability to stay on blocks of bigger, stronger, perhaps even more athletic defensive tackles like B.J. Hill for the Bengals, who gave us problems at various times. I did think he stood up well against some of the other guys he went up against in one-on-one situations. I'll have Emery Jones spot shadowed in yellow, but of course he was playing left guard, rotating in with Voorhees. This first snap is going to be a run concept. It's a 4-3 structure by the Bengals, and I believe this is on our second possession. Now, we've got trouble here trying to block this up. A couple of observations, at least early. Number one, it's a nice combo attempt by him to move up to the second level, even though the will linebacker ends up being unblocked because they roll down Geno Stone late. I do wonder or speculate that some of our pre-snap calls or adjustments by Lamar are kind of giving things away, especially to someone like a Geno Stone who played in our system. Number two, the lower body strength kind of comes into play at times in this film, but here it's not necessarily the case. Also, he's the only guy on the offensive line not wearing white gloves, and the team we're facing is wearing white jerseys. The strong safety's presence here obviously, brings Pat Ricard to him, even though Ricard is technically supposed to ISO the will linebacker. The will linebacker is spot shadowed here in purple, by the way. Same play from the end zone angle. It'll flow through a little bit slower. And you'll see, number one, that we don't have his hands out wide, generally, off the snap, whether he's going to combo someone and move up to the second level, or whether he's going to engage a defensive tackle immediately, number one. Number two, again, some of the predictability issues for us, I wonder if as the season has gone on, it's been a little bit easier for teams to identify. Basically, when we have, two plays called in the huddle, and Lamar will say sometimes it's penny, sometimes it's other words utilized. It seems to me in some of those situations we've been very focused on running the football, meaning a larger percentage of the time we're running the football after we make some of those calls. In any case, Jones doesn't seem to struggle to stay balanced, in my opinion, and move. You will see at least one rep later on of his feet kind of crossing. We lose perspective of his left foot here, so we don't know that, number one. Number two, he still does a nice job cleaning up that Mike linebacker, who still gets involved in the play because Derrick Henry had to cut it back. Unfortunately, I think the first possession when Jones is on the field ends in one of the fumbles or turnovers by Lamar. Of course, the issue isn't on Emery Jones' side. It's over here. It's the same stunt that we've had difficulty with. But credit the Bengals for lining guys up on the line of scrimmage and then dropping them out. In this case, it's one of the inside linebackers and the safety battle. He seems to have pretty good awareness, in my opinion. I don't notice, at least in a small sample size, some of the things that were mentioned. I mean, you read 3 or 4 different draft reports. I save them generally, especially for players that the Ravens select. And it's talking about recognition of stunts and also recognition of guys moving around at the second level and him being distracted by that. I just didn't see that at all, in my opinion. We know the issue here is that, we've got trouble on the right side trying to match up with this stunt, even though it's going to be very difficult for Roger Rosengarten to pick this stunt up by the defensive end Murphy in time enough to prevent Joseph Asai from getting through the B-gap. In my opinion, we got a really weak pass-off by Falele, number one. Number two, multiple examples in this game of our offensive linemen making contact with the face mask or the helmet of Bengals defensive linemen or defenders. Because Falele can't stay square hardly at all, and he opens himself up, he gives up his chest, and you can see kind of here with the left hand by Murphy. That ends up driving him back into Lamar's lap. Joseph Asai, obviously getting through the B gap, is a big factor as well. I recognize that some people are just going to say it's Roger Rosengarten's fault. Yes, we would like for him to recognize the stunt. In my opinion, the way that Cincinnati lined up, kind of this trickle-out effect from the nose tackle, and then Asai lined up in the B gap, and then Murphy outside with this really wide alignment. In my opinion, we need to either A, get the running back to that side, or B, chip these guys off the right side when they're in that wide alignment, because it's quite honestly going to be very difficult for Rosengarten and Falele to pick this up. That's been proven throughout this year. Saw hands to the face, got face mask, I think, twice from other guys throughout the course of the film that I had. 3 times from Falele just in one game. This was a huge moment, man, during in the context of what was happening. Our inability to protect Lamar is something that affects his play and his performance. Obviously, it will any quarterback. In my opinion, it's been such a long occurring issue over the course of 2024 and 2025 that it has to be frustrating for him, because I know it is for me. Moving on, this will be the second possession when he's in the game. I think it's our 5th possession in the second quarter. I do like his physicality. He's bumping 90 here. I think that's Chris Jenkins, who's actually from Maryland. And then the nose tackle is kind of swimming over the top of Linderbaum to their right-hand side, probably because that's where Ricard and Mark Andrews are set up. And so he's just trying to close off, or he's trying to combo, 90, and then 98 steps to him. So he ends up trying to close him off and successfully does. We're not able to block the nickel off the edge at all, or the corner off the edge at all. Interesting blocking scheme here with Andrews and Ricard. My suspicion is everyone's mentality up front there, at least to the play side, is just, hey, let's make sure we don't get any penetration and give up a tackle for loss. As an aside, one of the things that I'll mention a couple of times in this video is the outside hands, specifically the elbows on the outside for multiple guys. It's not just Falele and Andrews. There's others that do it as well, but those are the biggest. If you ask me, those are the biggest guys that commit those acts consistently, and that's one of the things that Jones does not do. He seems to be able to adjust during the play, and I would say that that's just experience of playing in the SEC, first of all, against high-level competition, and also has pretty good functional strength, if you ask me, for a guy who, relatively would be considered one of the smaller, weaker guards at this point in the NFL. Pass pro example here on that same possession. I think this is a second down on our 5th possession. So a couple of things to notice here. Number one, he does stay balanced, but also his feet end up really close together at a certain point, and that can kind of lead to trouble. I would expect, if he's going to continue rotating in our plane, I would expect us to see some type of initial outside move from defensive tackles, and then a bull rush, basically what some refer to as speed to power. Down here in the goal line, obviously our drops change from the depth for Lamar, the quarterback, and we obviously we are going to rely on the quick game to get the ball out and not give teams the opportunity to generate pressure. So take a look at what he does first of all. Watch how long this right foot is in the air, and then how he kind of crosses over his feet, if you will. I do wonder about his recognition being really quick here, or if this was predetermined. So what I mean is the strike that he lands with the right hand. Almost want to say that it seems like he recognizes the move that's coming, and that the defensive tackle, again, this is Chris Jenkins, originally from Maryland, who played at Michigan. Almost like he recognizes that Jenkins is going to step to the outside and then spin back to the inside to try to get to Lamar. I'm not sure that I necessarily believe that. It just means, I'm speculating here, if he did recognize it so soon, like now, then that means he's got elite recognition already and someone who's very prepared. The feet getting close together is something that, cannot occur. You don't want the cleats to be in the air that long. In any case, it's an example of Lamar having to throw the ball kind of between 2 defensive linemen. I do think he has quick hands, at least so far. I'll use a MMA or boxing reference in that I think he's got adequate hand strength. I don't think that the lower half is as strong as it will be probably a year from now, and I would say that's a relative weakness when I say strength compared to other guards. That's what I'm talking about, is the lower half, the legs, the hips, the quads, etc. But the hand speed, in my opinion, is something that really looks good, as well as hand placement that's good enough. It's certainly better than Filele's. That last possession I showed may actually have been from the third quarter. This one's from the fourth. Cincinnati's already up 26-14. It's very difficult to block this Will linebacker in an underfront, which is what Cincinnati's in, a 1 or a shade strong, a 5 technique strong, and then a 9, in this case a wide 9, to the tight end side. We're unable to get to that Will linebacker. To me, the scheme is somewhat unusual here, number one. Number two, Jones is going to end up getting called for a hold. His elbows do kind of go out initially, but he adjusts as a play develops. And that's something that I think you can compare, dramatic difference between him and Filele already, in that the elbows, even when they flare initially, which can affect your posture, number one. Number two, can lead to penalties, even though Filele's only been called for 5 penalties this year. I think 3 of them have been accepted and 2 of them were offsides, or excuse me, false starts. There's a dramatic difference when you actually watch the film from the end zone angle. Filele's the worst as far as our offensive line in that issue. Now, this does end up being a hold on Jones. In my opinion, there's possibility of some type of hands to the face briefly, and that might be what causes Jones' posture to break a little bit, and then hold and pull and snap down on the defensive tackle, obviously getting called for a hold. Again, that's Chris Jones from Maryland originally, went to Michigan, a high-level draft pick, a guy with a lot of reputation, and I thought Jones' reps against him, other than this one, were generally pretty good. If you wanted to be defensive for Jones here, you'd say he doesn't expect this ball to wind back over here, and that that is a factor that influences him actually holding on the play. It looks to me like it was generally designed to go to the strong side. The very next snap after the hold, and he'll be matched up with B.J. Hill. It's a 1st and 20. This, of course, will be the 44-yard gain to Henry, who's going to flow through the A-gap, so it's possible that Emery Jones knows he theoretically could have help in there. A couple of things to note as far as his technique. Generally, his hands go straight to the man. You do not get this rearing back of his hands to kind of load his hands up. They generally go straight to the defender in a very efficient manner. As an aside, related to the catch that Henry makes in the run, it's 44 yards. I believe this is the 4th game out of 6, or maybe it's the 4th game out of 7, that Henry's had over 100 total yards of offense. Jones, to me, looks like he's trying to screw the left hand into the pec of B.J. Hill and control him, and then B.J. Hill takes his right hand, if I'm understanding this correctly, and smacks Jones to the inside to try to shed and then release. It does seem to me like Jones can adjust during the play. I'm talking about where his hands go initially here. They slide to the outside of the right shoulder, and then he tries to get them back on the inside. Like I said, kind of screw that elbow in and prevent B.J. Hill from bull rushing him. I do think this is the kind of rush we're going to see more often if Emery Jones plays consistently. Additionally, I'd like to see more of this to Henry, meaning get him past the first level of the defense. Short passes off of play action, in fact, to just, avoid all of this altogether, because oftentimes we can't block it. He's got such great vision, so smart. He hasn't taken a pass to the house yet, obviously, in 2025. This one goes for 44 yards. Even though we've got offensive line issues in 2025, he is 4th in the league in rushing. Unfortunately, that possession ends with an interception a couple minutes later. A pass pro opportunity to just talk about how patient and smooth he is. And if you ask me, him and Filele are being trained in a different manner. I think that's pretty obvious this year that we're allowing Filele to use these wide hands and almost kind of flare his elbows out. Now, the problem with that, I understand it because of his frame and his size, but the problem with that is it leads to breaking your posture and you tipping forward, which he already has difficulty doing. In any case, you can see the tighter hands for Emery Jones and how that's able to help him maintain a solid posture. He tries to ride Hill out of here once he recognizes what's happening. And I'm talking about the right arm here. To me, this is not a genuine rush initially by Hill. He's just holding up for a moment, and that's why the hands for Hill are on the outside. And then he's folding to the outside after Joseph Asai ducks into a B-gap rush. It did seem like, now this is a small sample size, it did seem like as the game developed, Emery Jones' base got a little bit wider, at least upon initial contact. Like I said, it's a very small sample size, and I could just be seeing things because, we're all excited to see him get out on the field and see what he can do. This is the same play from the all-22 angle. And again, I don't think B.J. Hill is necessarily given an honest rush here in the beginning. To me, this looks, predetermined that he's going to delay Stunt to the outside. But you do get an opportunity to see that Emery Jones is, patient and tries to stay square. For someone who's only been playing guard for, how many weeks, I think that's a good sign, number one. Number two, this gives you an opportunity to really evaluate and notice Falele's instinctual, quick reliance on outside hands and basically hugging the defender. Old school guys hate it. I do as well, as an aside. In my opinion, they're teaching it to him because of his large frame, the lack of agility, basically trying to get him to get outside hands to control, and I think that really sets him up for failure long term and has a detrimental effect on the offense, including Lamar. A third down here, and the Ravens are going to go sprint out, or semi-roll. Lamar is going to roll to his right or left, and following Rasheen Ali. I do think that Emery Jones gets out of here a little slow. I think his getting out of his stance is a little bit slow, and his backside elbow isn't tight enough necessarily to be able to handle or get some power, some actual punch and grab on B.J. Hill. Linderbaum is going all the way to get this 3 technique, who actually kind of stunts to the inside. Again, that's Jenkins. It doesn't seem like Jones can get his hand strike, specifically with the backside arm, to the inside, timed up or synchronized with his backside step, meaning his left foot here. Really nice timing by the nickel DB for the Bengals, who kind of really gave it away a couple seconds earlier, number one. Number two, Lamar takes a shot from him, and it's pretty obvious to me that we've got a hold that could have been called. I do wonder how many times Jones had to execute cutoff blocks like this in college, because he always played right tackle at LSU, and here now he's been moved to the left-hand side. So these cutoff blocks, it seemed to me that it's more challenging for him to get out of that stance and cut someone off on a run play, or in this case, a sprint out going to the offense's right. I'll give you the all-22 angle so you can see what I'm talking about. This nickel DB had already kind of walked inside, and now he'll kind of return to a, quote, normal alignment. Jones on the backside here is unable to cut off B.J. Hill, like I said. It's not surprising, that we're going to the right side to try to get a conversion. Again, I think this is a third down. It's also not surprising that the guy who is unable to execute the block, even though we're surprised by the nickel, is Daniel Falele. I don't know where some of the stats come from that people quote and talk about, but I've already seen 2 different people talk about, certain guys, Falele in this case, not allowing a pressure. I don't know who you would apply this to if it's not our right guard. For those of you that are tired of hearing me talk about it and talk about one player, you think it's a rant, how frustrating was it for you to watch Lamar get knocked to the ground so many times like this one? And see him get hit so much, and then obviously he played poorly, right? And that's all of those issues are not offensive lineman O-line based, but some of them are. And in my opinion, we at least have a third round draft pick who has talent, physical talent, and movement skills, and is classically trained, not going to be given the opportunity to play with poor technique consistently to try to navigate the athletic and agility deficiencies that he has. Jones in a blocking situation is going to be uninvolved here. This is, of course, the interception where Lamar, I think, is trying to get the ball to Mark Andrews. So 2 potential rushers off the edge. And so the way we're going to deal with 99 is with Isaiah Likely, and then the running back, Ali, is going to deal with Geno Stone. To me, there's no work here for Jones to really necessarily talk about, so I won't. Likely a very poor job, in my opinion, of handling Murphy. It doesn't seem like he's super interested in executing this block. There's a lot of hesitation on approach. I think this is a job for Pat Ricard, basically. It's 3rd down. The Bengals have shown consistently that they're going to be in this mug look, sticks, blitz, zero, whatever you want to call it. To me, it doesn't make sense. If this is the pass pro we're going to call, why we don't have Ricard on the field. In any case, it's Murphy who gave us trouble all night. Again, matched up against Likely momentarily. It's a huge moment, man. Lamar's trying to get the ball. He's trying to layer the throw over top of Knight, the inside linebacker who really doesn't have great pass coverage skills. This is a throw that Lamar's made 100 times. I don't get it that people are wondering, where's Lamar throwing this football? And I'll give you the all-22 angle so you can see it for yourself. This is a throw that Lamar's made 100 times in his career with Mark Andrews. While I am excited about Jones getting an opportunity, I continue to be disappointed with our, in pass pro, lack of physicality, a lack of commitment, and really we're at a pass pro deficit already. To me, if a team is going to continue to go to those looks, that stick, split, zero, mug, whatever you want to call it, then Pat Ricard needs to be on the field. As much as Isaiah Likely can make plays, these soft skills here by him, along with the fumble at the goal line, are the types of things that, to me, mean the better choice, if you know you're going to get this look, is to get someone on the field who can actually execute this block. It's possible that Murphy runs over Ricard, but it won't be that easy, in my opinion. And number 2, it'll give Lamar the chance to get this ball to Andrews. So you've got basically what functions as a clear-out concept or occupy by Bateman on the backside to hold this corner and man, and then Andrews running over the second level of the defense. I don't understand it. People saying that there's nothing here. If Lamar is able to throw this ball over top of Knight, which he's done 100 times before with Mark Andrews, somewhere in this area, Willie Snead, as well as other guys, then we've got a touchdown and we're in business. But our inability to protect Lamar Jackson in 2025 comes back to haunt us. It's not just Daniel Falele or Roger Rosengarten. In this case, it's Likely. There's a lot to say about this situation late in the game. I think we're just over 1:20 left as the ball is snapped. It's interesting to me that Bullock is on the field and Lamar is still in. It's a totally different alignment for the Bengals, right? Because the game is over at this point. So they're not necessarily interested in stopping the run. Derrick Henry's not on the field. We're getting a combo block by Bullock and Jones together. Bullock has got good hand positioning on the hip here, really knocking Chris Jenkins out of there. But then as a result of compressing down so far in this direction, he's unable to peel off and go get the inside linebacker. I do think it's interesting that he's on the field here. I have no idea if Linderbaum was injured or something like that. I don't mean to be ominous, but it makes me wonder, what our coaching staff / front office's plan is for 2026 at the center position. I don't know what other people have put out there for Emery Jones for his first game. Only 16 snaps, so very limited experience. I think it's a good start, to be honest with you. He had some opportunities to go against a really good player in B.J. Hill. Not so much Chris Jenkins. I didn't think the Chris Jenkins film looked good, and that doesn't really bring me any joy to say that because, again, he's from Maryland originally. But he just doesn't look like the same impact player that a lot of us thought. In any case, how would I assess Jones in the very small sample size that we got? Better at actual O-line technique in some ways than Falele already. That's a low standard, of course, but they've got different frames, and in my opinion, they're probably being coached differently in terms of how to approach things. I do wonder about Jones being asked to switch sides and what that means for 2026. That's all I'll say for now. I thought Jones looked patient, prepared for almost each moment, except maybe the one time he's slow out of his stance, trying to cut off B.J. Hill on that sprint out or semi-roll to his right, our left-hand side of the screen. And that makes sense, like I said. To me, it looked like he's trying to figure out how to get his hands in the proper position in combination with the steps, and he was just slow there. The physical limitations from a lower body standpoint as far as strength, I don't think they're overwhelming at all. He's got very quick hands. He seems to be willing and able to readjust them, get them situated quickly. To use an MMA or a boxing reference, I think he's a guy who can adjust in the middle of a strike or who can defensively dodge or deflect punches as they're on the way. I think he's got good eyes, and I think he's got good fast twitch in his hands. I do wonder about the rest of 2025 if he's on the field a lot, if we're going to see more moves that are, quote, speed to power or speed to bull, and see how he responds. The one time that I showed you his feet getting, a little bit closer together, it did actually occur a second time as well. I'm sure other people have mentioned it. That, to me, just looks like something that, a comfort issue. Again, playing on the left side, playing guard for the first time in his life, pretty much. Posture looks really good, and that's related to the elbows and the inside hands, which, is all related. Basically, I think the recognition is a lot better than people gave him credit for in the draft process. At least, the little bit of snaps that we saw. He seems classically trained. In other words, he's smooth in his movements at times. I think that the old school offensive line guys who hate the flared or outside arms, like myself, are going to look at his game and he would fit in 1985, 1995, 2005, and 2025. Basically, I like his game. I'm glad he got the opportunity here. If you're anything like me, you recognize or you believe that the offensive line needs a serious rehaul in 2026. I do have some concerns about our global plan and what those plans might be. Basically, the amount of salary that it's going to keep, that it would cause or require, to keep Tyler Linderbaum versus the amount of salary that the Ravens might choose to keep Daniel Falele, which I believe will be a horrible decision. In any case, no matter what they do, independent of Emery Jones, I think he should be a big part of the strategy for 2026. I'd like to see his role expand a little bit next week at both guard positions, but at this point, he's probably just playing off the left side. You guys are welcome to let me know what you think of the film study in the comment section. For being only 16 plays, I probably went too far with the number of snaps that I showed you, but I think it is a worthy focus, because we're all excited and we all recognize that there is an absolute need to improve our offensive line play, not just in the run game, but the pass pro, so we can protect our greatest asset, which is Lamar Jackson.